Hi everyone. I've been thinking about the transition between an existing women's group and a Grove because I know some of you in the group are already in women's circles and wondering whether it's possible, and if so, how to transition into a TreeSisters Grove circle. So I thought it'd be really interesting to have a little bit of a exploration on that, and I'm really interested to hear anyone's experiences of what that's been like or where you're at with it. Because there's something about not reinventing the wheel, isn't there? If you've already got a circle of women and you've already got those bonds and trust and you journey together, why create another circle simply to have a grove? Isn't it possible to cross the river and become a grove? So the things that have come to me as I've thought about it are, what is it that makes a grove different to other circles? What would be the reason for becoming a grove? And what might be hesitations or resistances to it, that would need to be sort of got through and moved through together in your circle. To me, a TreeSisters Grove is different to the other circles, women's circles that I've come across, mostly because of the coherency of the in-breath and the out-breath. Circles that I've been have either been very focused on the in-breath or very focused on the out-breath. And that beautiful cohesion between the two, particularly in the way that it's taught through the blueprint for a restorer species, when we do the in-breath first to feel how we are, to notice what's going on in our bodies, and we strengthen our connection with ourselves, each other, and nature, to then move into action from that nourished place, that replenished place, that place of connection. That's very different to taking action from a place of panic, from a place of reaction, to really feel first and then act. That's what we're calling through the TreeSisters Groves. It's like thinking about both sides. For the circles that are in existence that are just about the in-breath, of which there are a lot and of which they are essential, because I'm going to keep saying this, there are so many women on the planet that are so burnt out from everything they're holding and have been holding for millennia. So the time to come in and rest is so important. Once there's enough of that that's taken place, and there's a move to action, it's like, how do you then encourage circles that are just in-breath circles to move outward? It can be quite a thing. I think feelings of fear of loss of the intimacy would come up, a fear of letting go of that preciousness of having reconnected. So if there's a circle that you've been in and it's just been very, very nourishing and really about looking after and caring for yourselves and each other, that would be one of the concerns that might get flagged, is some of the intimacy might go. If you go towards a grove and some of your energy is moved more outwardly. So how could that be overcome? How could you reassure that concern that the intimacy could be lost? One possibility is to absolutely incorporate in breath with every out breath that you do. So if you do go and do something very practical like tree planting, that you start with some touch, with some meditation, with some rooting of yourselves into the earth, that you sing whilst you plant, that you celebrate the planting at the end by coming together and having cozy time and sharing food and cuddling and appreciating yourselves and each other. It's not a case of just getting tooled up, going out, doing the work, going. It's really keeping the in-breath, the nourishing energies around you. And then thinking about it from the other side, groups that have been very outwardly focused, that have been much more activist based, how would it feel to bring in-breath into them? And I can imagine that could be quite a threat for some, because I feel this in myself. You know, there's such a charge about action, and there's a I can feel a terror in my system about what we're with right now, and if we don't act, what we, you know, we can't not act. We've got to just get busy and move forward, and that's, on one level, there's some truth to that we are in total crisis and a lot needs to happen. But if we move from that place of panic, if we continue to act from that place of panic, we're going to burn out. We risk our health, and without our health, we are not going to be effective out in the world. We're going to be in completely, 100% looking after our energy levels and looking after our well-being out of necessity. So how can the in-breath be presented to those circles that are very out-breath focused? It's a really important question, isn't it? So what comes? What comes if I was going to talk to a group that was very active based? What comes up for me is something about the body, something about it, the perspective, the wisdom that we're not separate from nature. We are nature. If we don't look after these beautiful bodies that house us, is what we're doing really grounded? Is it sustainable? Are the very hopes and dreams that we have for our planet, are we applying them to our own personal planet? I would use language like that. I would try and use the planet as a metaphor, work on the planet as a metaphor for care of self. Permaculture is really good for this. The principles of permaculture, which is care of self, care of other, care of the land. So there's probably resources within the permaculture world that would be really, really transferable. And there's a really beautiful movement called the Transition Network, which sprung out of the UK, which is now global, and it's all about the transition to going beyond peak oil, where we don't have the oil reserves and we're not able to use oil, and it's all about how to skill down for that time. And initially it was very action based, but over time they started. Transition groups started springing up with heart and soul elements to them. So it's similar model, but very much about peak oil, beyond peak oil. So yeah, and I can just feel it's really interesting doing these. I'm just talking sort of stream of consciousness. I haven't planned what I'm going to say, because and I was feeling quite charged, having watched some stuff online about the urgency of what we're with, and so my system responded to that. Like, I want to do something. I've been thinking about doing this talk, this little video for a little while in the Groves tenders. So I was like, I'm going to do that now, and my energy has softened as I've started to consider the implications of the out breath without the in breath. And the wisdom of my system is reminding me that we can't just go out and charge. Much as part of us wants to, the warrior part really wants to do that. And, bless that warrior energy. We want to harness that. But without the in-breath, it's really short term. Our nervous systems are really, really subtle, increasingly, and we need that subtlety on the planet. It's because we haven't had that subtlety and listen to that subtlety that we're in the mess that we're in, partly. So there's a few thoughts. I'd really love to hear anyone's experience who's either thinking about transitioning an existing circle into a grove circle, or who's already done that. What was it like? What worked for you? What were the challenges? What advice would you give to other grove tenders who are sort of on that precipice of doing that? Okay, thanks for watching. Much love.